This biblical story will leave you shocked and speechless. Betrayal, revenge, and war. Have you ever wondered what the most disturbing story in the Bible might be? A story so dark, so emotionally jarring, that the only thing left after hearing it is silence. Not outrage, not tears, just silence. Most people assume the Bible's darkest tales are buried somewhere in Revelation or Ezekiel, tangled up in apocalyptic visions or prophetic condemnations. But the story I'm about to share with you doesn't come from those books. It comes from a lesser-read section of the Old Testament, the book of Judges, specifically, chapters 19 to 21. It's a story few pastors talk about from the pulpit, and you'll rarely hear it in a Sunday school class. Yet it's one of the most brutally honest depictions of societal collapse ever recorded. Violence, betrayal, cruelty, and a thirst for revenge that spirals completely out of control. What begins as a personal conflict between a man and a woman ends in civil war and near genocide. It's disturbing because it feels less like ancient history and more like a cautionary tale we've seen unfold in our own world time and time again. Before I go further, I want to give you a fair warning. This story contains deeply unsettling themes: abuse, sexual violence, and graphic injustice. If you are sensitive to such topics, please approach with caution. But if you're willing to walk through it, I believe there is a powerful lesson here about the human heart, about society, and about what happens when moral foundations are completely abandoned. Let's begin. The book of Judges tells the story of Israel in a time before kings, before David, before Solomon. It was a chaotic era. The people had entered the promised land, but they lacked unity. There was no central government, no enduring leadership, and no consistent obedience to God. Instead, Israel moved in cycles, moments of faithfulness followed by apathy, followed by sin, suffering, and desperation, until a judge would rise to rescue them. Then the cycle would begin again. It was a time of lawlessness, spiritual confusion, and moral decay. And into this world walks a man known only as a Levite. In a time when Israel had no king, when everyone did as they pleased, there lived a Levite who resided in the remote hills of Ephraim. He had taken a woman from Bethlehem as his concubine, but after some time, she was unfaithful to him and left, returning to her father's house in Bethlehem. She stayed there for 4 months. One day, the Levite decided to go after her, not in anger, but to speak kindly and win her back. He brought along a servant and 2 donkeys. When he arrived at her father's home, the girl's father welcomed him with great joy. The man stayed there for 3 days, eating, drinking, and relaxing. Every time he tried to leave, the father-in-law persuaded him to stay longer. 1 more meal, 1 more night. This happened again and again, and the Levite ended up staying 5 days. Finally, on the afternoon of the 5th day, despite more pleas from the father-in-law to stay, the Levite packed up and left with his concubine and servant. It was getting late when they neared Jebus, the city of the Jebusites, later known as Jerusalem. The servant suggested they stop there, but the Levite refused. He didn't want to stay in a city that didn't belong to the Israelites. So they kept going until they reached Gibeah, a city belonging to the tribe of Benjamin. As the sun went down, they entered Gibeah and waited in the town square, hoping someone would offer them a place to stay. But no one did. Just then, an old man came in from working in the fields. He was also from Ephraim, but was living in Gibeah among the Benjamites. He saw the travelers and offered them shelter in his home. The Levite explained they had food and supplies for themselves and their animals. They just needed a place to sleep. The old man welcomed them warmly and took care of them. But as they were enjoying their evening, trouble came knocking, literally. Some wicked men of the city surrounded the old man's house and began banging on the door. They shouted for him to bring out the Levite so they could abuse him. The old man rushed outside and pleaded with them not to do such a horrible thing, reminding them that the man was a guest under his roof. In desperation, he offered his own virgin daughter and the Levite's concubine instead, begging the mob not to commit such wickedness. Still, the men would not listen. Seeing no other choice, the Levite pushed his concubine out the door. The men seized her and assaulted her all night long. When morning came, they finally let her go. She stumbled back to the house and collapsed at the doorway, reaching out to touch the threshold before losing consciousness. At daybreak, the Levite opened the door to leave and found her lying there. He said, "Get up, let's go." But she didn't move. She was dead. He placed her body on his donkey and traveled back home, filled with grief and rage. When he got there, he took a knife and did something shocking. He cut her body into 12 pieces and sent one to each tribe of Israel. It was his way of crying out for justice, making sure every tribe saw the horror that had happened in Gibeah. The entire nation of Israel was horrified. Nothing like this had ever happened before. People from every tribe gathered at Mizpah to discuss what must be done. 400,000 soldiers assembled. The Levite stood before them and told the full story of what had happened in Gibeah: the evil, the assault, and the death of his concubine. The people were outraged. They sent messengers to the tribe of Benjamin, demanding that the wicked men of Gibeah be handed over for punishment. But Benjamin refused. Instead, they rallied 26,000 warriors to defend their own, including 700 elite fighters from Gibeah who were so skilled with slingshots they could hit a target without missing. War broke out between the tribe of Benjamin and the rest of Israel. On the first day of battle, Israel lost 22,000 men. Shocked, they wept and prayed to God, asking if they should keep fighting. God told them to return to battle. On the second day, another 18,000 Israelite soldiers fell. The people were shaken. They wept again and fasted before the Lord, offering sacrifices and asking if they should go into battle a third time. God answered, "Go. Tomorrow I will give you victory." On the third day, the Israelites set an ambush around Gibeah. This time, as Benjamin came out to fight, Israel pretended to retreat, drawing the Benjamites away from the city. Then the ambush struck. Gibeah was attacked and set ablaze. When the Benjamites looked back and saw smoke rising from their city, they realized they were trapped. The Israelites turned and attacked, and the tide of the war changed. That day, they killed 25,000 Benjamite warriors. Only 600 men managed to escape and flee to the wilderness, hiding in the rock fortress of Rimmon for 4 months. The rest of Benjamin was wiped out. Their cities were burned. Their women and children were killed. The people of Israel had acted in justice, but their actions had nearly erased an entire tribe. Later, when the anger cooled, the Israelites were struck with sorrow. They realized what had happened. A whole tribe of God's people was almost gone. They had made an oath not to give their daughters in marriage to the surviving Benjamites. But now they feared that Benjamin would disappear forever. They gathered again at Bethel, weeping and praying before God. "Why, Lord?" they asked. "Why has one tribe been cut off from Israel?" They came up with a desperate plan. They had earlier made a vow. Anyone who had not come to the assembly at Mizpah would be cursed. So they looked through the tribes and found that no one from Jabesh Gilead had attended. They sent 12,000 soldiers there with orders to kill every man and woman, except virgin girls. They captured 400 virgins and brought them to the camp at Shiloh. These girls were given as wives to the 600 surviving Benjamites. But it wasn't enough. So again, the leaders found another plan. Each year, a festival was held at Shiloh, where young girls danced in the vineyards. The elders told the remaining Benjamites, "Go hide in the vineyards during the festival. When the girls come out to dance, each of you grab a wife and run." That way, the Benjamites could have wives without breaking the oath made by the other tribes. When the fathers and brothers of the girls protested, the leaders told them, "Let it be. We didn't give them away directly, so we didn't break our oath. Just allow it so Benjamin can survive." The Benjamites did as instructed. They each took a dancing girl from Shiloh and returned to their land. They rebuilt their towns and settled there again. After that, the rest of the Israelites went home to their own tribes and families. The conflict was over. The sorrow lingered, but the tribe of Benjamin had been saved from extinction. The story ends with this solemn line: "In those days there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes." So what do we do with a story like this? It's easy to say, that was a different time. But is it? We still see the same pattern today. We see injustice and respond with fury. But instead of wisdom, we respond with vengeance. Instead of stopping evil, we perpetuate new harm. We act without reflection, without humility, without God. This story is not meant to entertain, or even to simply shock. It's meant to serve as a mirror. How do we react when we encounter wrong? Do we let righteous anger become blind rage? Do we seek revenge and call it justice? Do we abandon wisdom for the thrill of punishment? What makes this story so tragic is not just the evil that happened in Gibeah, but how everyone responded to it. From the Levite who sacrificed a woman to save himself, to the Israelites who nearly wiped out an entire tribe, every step in this story shows what happens when we let go of God's standard and follow our own. Without a moral compass, even justice becomes distorted. Without God, our best intentions lead to disaster. This is not just a story of the past, it's a warning for the present. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect. Share your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, subscribe so we can continue unpacking these deeper lessons from Scripture. We need wisdom, not just emotion. We need truth, not just reaction. And we need each other as we try to navigate a world that still struggles with the same human heart. Thank you for watching. Stay grounded, stay humble. And may we always seek justice, not through revenge, but through righteousness. God bless you.